Labour are warning that scrapping free TV licences for the elderly would hit 2.4 million pensioners who live alone and for whom watching the TV means an enormous amount. And someone who's very concerned about it is Labour's Deputy Leader Tom Watson. So this is something you are very concerned about.
The reason I think it's particularly important at this time of the year, you know, the Campaign to End Loneliness say that 4 out of 10 people older people use the TV as their main companion. And last year, Age UK said there'd be 1 million pensioners who would spend Christmas to the New Year entirely on their own. So we think the free TV licence is a very good pensioner benefit, and the government are devolving welfare cuts to the BBC and asking the BBC to decide whether people should have this free TV licence. And we think it's wrong.
I mean, one of the things that people think is hypocritical is, of course, that MPs can still claim expenses on their TV licence. They can still, if you like, get them for free because they can get them on their expenses. You also have the opportunity to do that. Do you do that, Tom? Or have you decided, because you know pensioners might go without, that you won't?
Do you know what, Kate? I don't know whether I do or don't, but I think. But the point for me is, it would absolutely be hypocritical. Sorry?
That's a worry. Why do you not know what you're claiming on your expenses?
Well, I just can't remember whether I never watched the telly in the flat I stay in London. But anyway, the point is that for us, it would be hypocritical if MPs could have free TV licences and the government take it off the over 75s. And why I think this is particularly important, we've got some new figures from the House of Commons Library that reveal that it could be 2.4 million pensioners who currently live on their own that lose out in 2020 if the government carry on with their cuts. And let's not forget, this is a manifesto promise broken. You know, the Tory manifesto promise only last year said all pensioner benefits would be retained, including free TV licences. So they've either gone into that election knowing that they were going to break their promise, or something terrible has happened in the last 12 months.
Undoubtedly, for those 2.4 million people, if it's that number, it will be a real worry. If any of those pensioners happen to have been watching Prime Minister's Questions yesterday afternoon, I'm sure they would have been intrigued with what transpired and what happened as ever, and the furore and the fallout from seemingly what Jeremy Corbyn's been accused of, mouthing the word stupid woman. He claims he says stupid people towards Theresa May and the government. What are your thoughts? Do you think he said stupid woman?
I think Jeremy has been very clear that he said stupid people. He went back to the House, to the dispatch box, to make that very, very clear.
Because there's quite a lot of considered thinking from lip readers, and we've got an expert in with us who we're going to be talking to shortly, who have said there's no way that he could have used the word people because of the shape that his lips made. And actually, for that sort of language to be used in a place like the House of Commons and towards the Prime Minister just isn't acceptable.
Well, look, I'm not a lip reader, but I did hear Jeremy at the dispatch box deny using those words, and that's good enough for me.
How frustrating is it for you that that is what's on the front pages of the papers today, that there's a huge debate about whether your leader is a misogynist or not, when you're trying to deal with issues like about the TV licence and about Brexit itself, for heaven's sake? I mean, it must be very, very disappointing.
Well, on a very personal level, Kate, you know, I've been around a long time, so you try not to let these things get to you. But, of course, we have got Brexit, we have got loneliness, we have got millions of pensioners facing their TV licence cut, and being on TV talking about what Jeremy did or didn't say is not great. But, you know, that's British politics for you. For me, you know, he got up the dispatch box, he denied using those words, and that's good enough for me.
Is he a misogynist? Is he a sexist? Have you ever heard him call anyone a stupid woman? Have you ever called anyone a stupid woman?
Well, I try not to use that kind of language. And in more unenlightened times, politics was tougher than it is now. But I certainly don't think he's a misogynist or a sexist. He spent all his life campaigning for equality. And, of course, actually last night when I was discussing it with my daughter, she has asked me to say this to you, that she's 10 years old, and she says, "Daddy, why don't you just tell people that there's no such thing as a stupid woman?" And I think that's right. And I think politicians should be measured in the language they use, particularly when they're out in public.
She sounds very wise indeed as your daughter. Tom, thank you very much for joining us this morning.